When kids have enough repeated experiences of feeling safe, seen, and soothed, not perfect, then they develop that fourth S, secure, which is where their brain wires to know that people will show up for them when they need it. And the reason that this, I think, is so interesting right now is the whole purpose of the attachment system in mammals is that during distress, fear, terror, danger, that's when our attachment system is activated. It's almost like our attachment system is sets us up to be resilient in the face of exactly this type of thing.
Hello and welcome to the Sunshine Parenting Podcast, where each week we talk about ideas for raising kids who become thriving adults. I'm your host, Audrey Monkey. Here on the podcast, I share my experiences raising 5 kids who currently range in age from 16 to 26 and working with thousands more as a summer camp director over the past 3 decades. I'm the author of Happy Campers, and I frequently do workshops with parents, teachers, and summer camp professionals about social skills, connection, and happiness, topics I researched extensively for my master's in psychology. If you want tools for raising kind, optimistic, self-reliant kids who become thriving adults, you've come to the right place. Hey, Sunshine Parenting listeners, and welcome to episode 136. Today, I'm bringing you my conversation with Dr. Payne Bryson. You probably know her already from our previous episodes. It was just 15 episodes ago on episode 121, where Tina and I spoke about her brand new book with Dr. Dan Siegel, The Power of Showing Up. This interview is a little bit different. We did a Facebook Live, and I asked Tina to share her encouragement for parents during this COVID-19 virus. If you're not already familiar with Tina from her books, her speaking, and her visits to the Sunshine Parenting Podcast, I want to tell you a little bit about this incredible person. Tina is a psychotherapist and the founder, executive director of the Center for Connection and Play Strong Institute in Pasadena, California, where she offers parenting consultations and provides therapy to children and adolescents. Tina earned her Ph.D. from the University of Southern California, where her research explored attachment science, child rearing theory, and the emerging field of interpersonal neurobiology. Tina has 4 books that she has co-authored with Dr. Daniel Siegel. They include The Whole Brain Child, No Drama Discipline, The Yes Brain, and most recently, The Power of Showing Up. Tina and I recorded this conversation on Monday, April 6th, 2020, and this is being released as a podcast episode on Friday, April 17th, 2020. Before we get to my conversation with Tina, I'd like to share with you this week's One Simple Thing tip. This week's One Simple Thing activity is a gratitude practice. Normally, we really focus on gratitude in the month of November because it's around Thanksgiving time. And that's often when I've shared different gratitude practices that you might want to try in your family. But this time we're in now, which can be so prone to focusing on the negative, is a really good time to start some kind of family gratitude practice. Dr. Martin Seligman is one of the leaders of the positive psychology movement and author of one of my favorite positive psychology books, Flourish, A Visionary New Understanding of Happiness and Wellbeing. This is what Dr. Seligman says. We think too much about what goes wrong and not enough about what goes right in our lives. Of course, sometimes it makes sense to analyze bad events so that we can learn from them and avoid them in the future. However, people tend to spend more time thinking about what is bad in life than is helpful. Worse, this focus on negative events sets us up for anxiety and depression. One way to keep this from happening is to get better at thinking about and savoring what went well. Since this virus has given us a lot more time to think about all of the scary things and things that are going wrong in the world, this is a really good time to start a gratitude practice. A really simple idea that I got from my daughter, Meredith, is to start using sticky notes and create a gratitude board or a gratitude wall. And a really fun way to do this is if you have more than one person in your house, have each person have their own color of sticky notes. So you could have someone be the yellow sticky notes, someone be the green and the blue, or whatever colors you have. And each day, either over dinner or at some point in the day, before bed maybe, have everyone write just one thing they're grateful for. You can see how even if you just have 3 people in your house, if you each write one thing for a week, you'll end up with 21 sticky notes on the wall, and you can read them and look at them, and it'll help make everyone feel better to be thinking about some of the good things in your life. And now here's my conversation with Tina. Well, good morning, Tina. Welcome to Sunshine Parenting.
Good morning. It's always so good to see your face, Audrey.
I know. So here we are entering week 4 for me. I don't know if I think you're in the same state that I am. So I think we're all week 4, day 1. So how are you doing?
I'm doing great, actually. I am in Pasadena, California, and I have my college-aged son who's moved back home, which is so sad for him and great for me to have him. And I've got my other 2 boys, and my son's college girlfriend is here, and she's been with us for almost a month now. So we have 6 people here, my husband and I, and these 4 kids between 13 and 20. And I'll tell you, when you have teenagers, it's like back to the newborn feeding schedule. It's like every 3 to 4 hours they need to eat. So I love cooking and baking, and my kids love doing that with me. And so it's honestly, I know there's a lot of loss and a lot of fear, and I'm experiencing a lot of loss in my business and a lot of fear for vulnerable family members and all of those things. And this sheltering in place time has been better than my normal life in many, many ways. My kids are hunkered in. We're playing board games and speed Scrabble every night. We're sitting and having 2 meals a day together. It's just, and I'm not traveling. I love my work, but I love being at home. So I'm really cherishing this time. And I go a little stir crazy at times. My friend texted me yesterday and said, I'm trying not to murder anyone. And I responded, how's that going? And she wrote, not very well. So I identify with that too. It's not all, we get tired of each other. And so honestly, the thing I have to have besides sleep is exercise. And it has to be, for me, I like being outside. I felt like I was going to go crazy yesterday for a little while. And I just went outside without even a purpose. Like I didn't even say I have to exercise and burn this many calories or go this amount of time. I just went and followed my dog's lead and just outside fresh air. And that was remarkable. What about you? What are you doing to stay sane and grounded?
Well, I think it's so funny because I think it's very similar to what you have going on. Because for me, it's bittersweet because I have these kids home that are not normally home. I even have my 26-year-old daughter who lives 2.5 hours away, who's a teacher, who's now doing her remote teaching from home. It's actually technically her spring break. And so it's been fun. And then she got a new puppy. So it's like,
the pictures.
Yeah. So it's not even that I have to take care of the puppy. I just get to like love on the puppy, and she does the middle of the night stuff and all that. So like you, it's, I'm worried and like there's business stuff and all those things. But at the same time, I actually love having more people around. I was thinking in your case too, having someone outside the family, like the girlfriend, might be good. I know in my family, it's always been good when there's like another friend there, because it sort of like helps a little bit the behavior of the siblings with one another. I don't know if you find that, but it's an interesting thing.
Yeah. And especially for my college age son, it's his life is supposed to be so social right now. And since we're not interacting with people, having someone that he wants to hang out with here makes him less restless, but he's kind of an introvert too. So like yesterday, he just went for a little drive just by himself, just to, which is great. It's great to do that self-care too, but it's fun to have somebody else in the house, and she's lovely. And we love building relationship with her too. So that's been really fun.
Oh yeah. And that's different for you too, because you're used to just having all the boys.
I know, it's so great to have another woman in the house. We actually have our dog who is the same breed as your little grandpuppy. And so the dog and the girlfriend and I, we kind of almost meet the equal numbers of all the boys, but that's been fun for me.
That's so fun. Yeah. Because my early family life was just all girls. And then by the end, my boys are the youngest. So then there were no girls at home. It was just me, my husband, and the 2 boys. So I kind of had like a couple of years of that. So it is always nice to have the girls in there. Okay, well, I just mostly, we were talking last week and kind of earlier that I think parents are just being inundated with so much. It's like, even us, like, we're people who, like, I curate this information. I love trying to find like the best books and podcasts and all of these things that are going to be helpful to parents. And even you and I are feeling a little overwhelmed by just the sheer vast amount of webinars, I don't know, email. I mean, I have more emails. I can't keep up with my email because of just the things that I subscribe to. They've ramped up how many things they're sending. So I'm like, So
from a fire hose, you're just, it's overwhelming. Yeah.
But your messages, I think, are the most important ones that I want to keep sharing with my community. And I just think, isn't it fortuitous that The Power of Showing Up just came out?
Yes. And I really feel for those whose books are launching right now in these weeks when all their speaking has been canceled. Our timing was really lucky. It launched January 7th. So we did all of our public speaking things and book tour. But now I feel like, the message of that book is even more germane now. And I think, the idea in the book is based on 50 years of attachment research that says that one of the best predictors for how well kids turn out is that they have someone who shows up for them, or what's called having had secure attachment. And Dan and I talk about the 4 S's that help promote secure attachment. And that's helping kids feel safe, where we protect them from harm and we don't become the source of fear and terror for them. Seen, where we really look beyond the behavior and we really look at that internal experience, what they're really feeling and experiencing. Soothed, where we nurture them and comfort them and help them, feel okay and safe. And then when kids have enough repeated experiences of feeling safe, seen, and soothed, not perfect, then they develop that 4th S, secure, which is where their brain wires to know that people will show up for them when they need it. And the reason that this, I think, is so interesting right now is the whole purpose of the attachment system in mammals is that during distress, fear, terror, danger, that's when our attachment system is activated. That's when we have that biological drive to go to someone who will help give us the 4 S's. So it's almost like our attachment system is sets us up to be resilient in the face of exactly this type of thing. So I think that's one of the main messages I really want to give teachers and parents is, first of all, you don't have to be perfect. We're all going to be messed up at times. We're going to be fearful. We're going to be grumpy, all those things. Just repair and move on. So that's number one. And the second thing is, just by you walking through this with your child, even in imperfect ways, you're doing it. That's what your kids need most from you, is you. And so that's kind of just a beautiful relief. And it's the kind of thing where we go, okay, I'm going to focus on helping my kids feel safe, seen, and soothed, and just be present to them. And that's all I need to be doing. That's more than good enough parenting.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for giving the message again. I was going to say, I know that people are just knocking down your door wanting to hear you. You're doing webinars for teachers this afternoon and all kinds of stuff. And you have some amazing videos that you've created just in the past couple of weeks that are short. And I just re-listened to them. The really important message about not giving a message of fear, but of safety. And you even just give very specific wording for parents. Yeah. Like, not that we're, so that you're saying it in a positive way. Like, this is safer for us to stay home right now, as opposed to it's really dangerous out there. These just little tweaks in the way we communicate. I do think one of the things that I love about all your books, and that I think why they're so important that we all read them, is maybe they're on the parenting shelf, but they are for people. They're people books. And I find whenever I read them, including The Power of Showing Up, but also The Yes Brain, that so much of it is really relevant to us as adults. And I think that's an important thing for people to understand, that we are all people with our own feelings going on through this and every other time. And you give the guidance of what we need to do for ourselves too.
Yeah, and we need people who help us feel safe, seen, soothed, and secure. And I think that's a message that's really important to tell parents too, is that, you matter too. And, we sacrifice so much for our kids, and, that mammalian need to be connected and have people show up to us, that's not just for our kids, it's for us. And like in the Yes Brain, you know, working on our own emotional balance, resilience, insight, and empathy. And I think the reason I feel so fortunate to be doing this work and to have come across this interpersonal neurobiology science and then trying to translate it for people is that it applies to every relationship and really every person. And even though the focus in the books is parenting, it's based on how the brain works in the context of relationships and how the environment and our experiences change the brain. So that's applicable to everyone, whether they have kids or not, or regardless of the life stage that we're in. Yeah.
Oh, well, definitely. Well, you are just a beacon for me. So thank you for all that you've done before this time, but also during this time. I just really appreciate your words, and just, I feel like you talk us all off the cliff and help us just kind of remember that it's messy. It's going to be messy being home and being all this time together. And there are going to be ups and downs. And like you said, there's just simple things we can do just to keep this, letting our kids know we're here.
Yeah.
It's okay. We're here with you and we're going to be okay.
And I had a thought this morning, Audrey. I probably shouldn't just like spitball on, live Facebook, but because it's just a thought I had this morning that I haven't really thought through, but I feel compelled to see what you think and talk about it for just a moment. And that is that I think the sane part of the 4 S's and really seeing our children's experience is really hard for us when we're in threat states. And, things are so unpredictable right now. And what I was thinking about is that I think one of the ways that as parents we mess up when it comes to the sane part is that, like, let's say our kids like flopping on the ground and they're complaining, I hate doing school on the computer, and they're complaining. The way we often respond to that is to be like, you should be grateful you even get to do school at home, and you should be grateful you even have a computer to, watch. A lot of kids don't even have that, and we immediately take their complaining and we go through. It's almost like if it was like the Candyland game, we would go through the fear-based parenting forest, and in our minds, and we sort of assume, it hits a fear button for us. Like our child is ungrateful, they're spoiled, they're indulged, and we jump there, and that keeps us from responding. So if I say, just think about this for a minute as an adult. If I say, gosh, I'm so frustrated, I can't go to the store. Like, we have not had vegetables in 3 days and my delivery is not until tomorrow. And it's so frustrating. And if my husband said, you should be grateful that you even have a credit card that you can order groceries from, I would be so pissed at him, because it really is dismissing of the person's experience. And so when your kid is complaining, it activates a fear or threat response in us, and it's really annoying. But if we can really just be present to our child's experience and say, it is frustrating, isn't it? It's not like it used to be. It's such a bummer. We have to do this right now, isn't it? Just keep it simple. If you are worried about your child's gratitude, indulgence, spoiledness, address that later at dinner time. Say, what are you all grateful for? What do you think that other kids are not getting? And have that be a separate conversation. But if we respond to our children's annoying complaining with argument or criticism, and when we do say you should be grateful of, we are actually criticizing them for sharing what they're feeling. And so our kids will make that association, and they'll go, okay, when I share my feelings with my parent, I get criticized. So that doesn't go so well for me. So I'm going to stop sharing how I feel with my parent. So that's really important.
Yeah.
Go to that scene, validate what they're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And if it triggers some fear in you, just build those skills, but not in that moment. Don't criticize them. Make them feel good and safe about sharing those feelings, even if it's annoying complaining.
Oh my gosh, that is so good. We talk about that a lot at camp, just validating, even if it seems unreasonable or ungrateful or whatever it is. And that is so applicable right now, because I think some of the things, especially like adolescents complain about, seem very superficial to us as adults. We're watching people dying and hospitals not having supplies, and there's all these real, like what we feel are like real valid things, and then, not being able to go on their spring break trip.
Right. And you're like, you're so selfish, right? Yeah.
Yeah. And so
feel that. but the thought
Yes.
bubble doesn't come out of our mouth.
Yes. So I really appreciate you saying that, because I think and as adults, same thing for our friends and the things they say and do, just validating people, just saying you're heard and wow, it is really hard. And that is frustrating. And those words that just make you feel like, someone cares. It reminds me when kids are homesick at camp, they'll sometimes say things that are like really negative, like, I hate this place. It's not fun. And for counselors, especially counselors who've been there a long time, they're like, it's like a parent feeling like, they're trying to defend their camp they love. And so, we tell them, you might be thinking like, oh my gosh, how can you hate this place? How can you not be having fun? It's so great. Look at all these other kids having fun. But what you need to say is, wow, you're really having a hard time and not enjoying yourself.
Yeah.
And then the child's like, oh, I can share with you. I will share my feelings with you. But like you said, they'll shut down and won't talk to the counselor if the counselor kind of argues with them about, whether camp is fun or not. It's not about that. It's about their feelings. And you want them to share the feelings, whether or not, whatever so thank you for that reminder. That's so good. I often talk about that with counselors. And I think as parents, we sometimes forget, because like you said, we have this weird sixth sense, like with our own kids, whatever they're doing, we're also thinking, oh my gosh, did I raise a child who XYZ is so selfish or is not grateful? And so you're thinking, oh my gosh, I need to fix this. So, oh my gosh, this was wonderful. Well, thanks for those insights. I'm glad for you shared your early morning insights. They are spot on.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on today. I will share in the comments everything that you have shared already with parents, these little 2-minute videos, and also our podcast episode that we did in January about the power of showing up, if people want to hear more about that. And thank you so much. Stay well, and we will be in touch. And thank you for continuing to just be a light during this dark time for all of us.
Audrey. And I think the book, your book, Happy Campers, is such a great time now too, because it's full of all kinds of rituals and activities that parents can do when they're at home and creating what's happening now. So I've been recommending your book a lot right now too. So thank you for being such a light in the world as well.
I felt so encouraged from my conversation with Tina, and I hope it also has left you feeling encouraged during this very challenging time. My favorite for this week is a video that I'll link to in the show notes. It's made by Soul Pancake, and it's called An Experiment in Gratitude. The video shows a series of people being interviewed about someone they are grateful for and what they love about that person. They're asked to write a letter, and not knowing that later they're going to be asked to call the person and read the letter out loud. It's a really moving video, and it may inspire you, as it's inspired me, to do this amazing gratitude practice. This week's listener question relates to something that Tina and I actually talked about in this interview, and that is how to respond when our kids are complaining about minutia and things that aren't really important during this pandemic. I think regardless of the situation, it's always a good idea, especially when we're feeling upset by something our kids say, to first pause and take a deep breath before attempting to respond. The next step is to simply validate that you heard what your child expressed. That can be as simple as saying something like, "It's really hard not to be able to see your friends." Another good way to validate your child's emotions is to just ask more questions. Tell me more about why you think you're feeling that way. Try to keep your own thoughts out of it and just validate them in this moment. And like Tina suggested, if there's something that needs to be addressed that's a character trait that you want to build up in your child, do that at another time, not during this particular conversation. As always, you can find notes, links, and other resources related to today's conversation by visiting my website at sunshine-parenting.com. While you're there, be sure to sign up for my email list so that you don't miss out on any of the great resources I have available for raising thriving kids. If you enjoyed this episode, I'd really appreciate you sharing it with a friend. Please take a moment to give Sunshine Parenting a rating or review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. Let's end with a quote from my book, Happy Campers. This month on the podcast, on my website, and in the Happy Campers Book Club, we're focusing on the theme of kindness. The excerpt from Happy Campers that I want to share with you this month is from secret number 8, Make It Cool to Be Kind. Viewing both our own and our children's kindness through a growth mindset lens is extremely important. Rather than labeling ourselves or others as kind or unkind people, we can recognize kind behavior and promote the concept that each of us can get better at being kind through intentional practice. The surface level changes that occur when kindness is practiced regularly is a quieter, less volatile family environment. On a deeper level, everyone feels less stressed and happier when we are both the givers and receivers of more kindness. At home, parents can do both small and big things to encourage more kindness. Besides making your home life more pleasant, you'll be raising kind humans who likely will bring positive changes to the world. I'm Audrey Monkey. Thank you for joining me for the Sunshine Parenting Podcast. Join me again next week for more conversations about raising kids who become thriving adults.